Can you save another person? If you have a friend, a family member, a loved one, and you discover that they're doing something deeply dangerous, self destructive, what do you do? If they're taking drugs and you try to confront them about it, there's a song from a while back. Their lines go, "It's not a habit. It's cool. I feel alive. If you don't have it, you're on the other side. It's not a habit." In other words, they'll deny that it's dangerous. They'll deny that it's addictive. They'll deny that it has any problem in their life. I've known a number of people who abused marijuana. And I can tell you, they'll argue all the livelong day about how marijuana is not a dangerous drug, but they're all a little bit whiffy because there isn't a single person I've ever known, ever, in all of my years, who used that substance frequently, who did not get a little whiffy, who did not lose the sharpness of their mind, who didn't become a little goofy where they had been more brilliant. Oh, yeah, there's an effect to taking marijuana. And there are effects to alcohol. And there are effects to smoking. And there are effects to overeating and not exercising. I know those pretty well. Or what if somebody is having sex too young? What if somebody is exposing themselves to possible pregnancy? Again, I've lived a long time. I've known people at age 14, 15, 16 who become mothers. It is not pretty. It is not easy. It's not what our society is designed for. And what if the partner is so immature that they not only can't help, but they become an active problem to the health and safety of the mother and the child? What if they're lying to the family that loves them? The family may be goofy and doofless and wrong, but the family loves them. What if they're lying and being sneaky and going behind their back and doing risky, dangerous things? Do you believe that you're your brother's keeper? Do you believe that your responsibility as a friend includes saying to your friend, taking them by the shoulders and saying, "You're, I'm worried about you. I love you. Stop it. Stop it. At least talk to me about it. Show me why I shouldn't be worried about you doing these reckless, dangerous, self destructive things. Why I shouldn't be worried that your personality seems to be changing. Why I shouldn't be concerned." One of the most glorious parts of human nature is our willingness to care enough about another person to go out of our way to try to help them, even if it's going to hurt us, even if it's going to inconvenience us, even if it's going to destroy the friendship. Yeah, I've been in a situation where I've destroyed friendships that I really cared about because I felt that if I was silent and something happened because of their dangerous activity, that it would partially be my fault. You can agree or disagree with that choice of mine. Hopefully, you're not so stupid and blind as to think that there's no such thing as dangerous self-destructive activity. My wife, who's a certified English teacher, was working as a librarian in Portland, Maine. And as happens often in high schools, too often, there's a car wreck. And a couple of kids, a couple of students, 17 years old, 18 years old, dead or maimed. In this case, dead. And there were drugs involved, and there was alcohol involved, and there was a lot of distraction involved. Well, there was a funeral. Lots of people from the school went. And one of the things that was set up in the library was a big card where people who couldn't make it to the funeral would write a message to the family offering them comfort. This is a family like yours who'd spent a decade and a half or more loving a child, raising a child, trying their best, messing up. All parents mess up. And now the child is dead. Child dies before the parents. That's a horror show. I don't know how people live with that. And there were a couple of dumbass students who wrote drive fast, drive high. In other words, a defiant statement about their own immaturity, saying that the things that got those kids killed were the way everyone should be. And this was going to the families. This is not what you want to say to a grieving family. You don't want to give a rebel yell to a family who's just lost somebody because of drugs and stupid choices. Can you save someone from themselves? Is what it always comes down to. And if you believe that you can, you're probably a progressive, a liberal on the left, maybe socialist, maybe towards some form of communism, because all of those are about fixing society so that individual people can be better than they are now. If, on the other hand, you don't believe that a person can be saved against their will, you're probably more conservative. It's a choice. Whether somebody wants to be saved or not is a choice. Whether somebody wants to quit alcohol, quit driving fast, quit drugs, quit being promiscuous, with all of the risks and dangers that are involved in that. If they want to change, they'll change. They'll at least try to change. But it's going to be a battle. One of the most difficult things anyone has to deal with in life is breaking a habit. Because habits are little addictions. And breaking out of an addiction, you're fighting against your own tendencies, your own comfort zone, your own pleasures, all of it. You wouldn't have had that habit in the first place if there wasn't something that satisfied you about it. And then you've got to stop yourself? Can anyone really stop you? I bring this up because government can be used to try to save people from themselves. That's why we have laws against compulsive gambling. That's why we have laws against having sexual relations below a certain age. That's why we have laws against drugs, laws that limit the age that a person can drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes or drive a car. Most reasonable people would argue that government can save people from certain problems. For example, you don't put a 6-year-old behind the wheel of a Ferrari and let them go driving. Most adults can't handle a Ferrari. It's like flying a fighter plane. It's far too responsive. You go a little too fast, and suddenly you're completely out of control at 120 miles an hour because it's a Ferrari. You put a 6-year-old behind the wheel, a 6-year-old does not have the mental processes, the nervous system, the reactions, or anything else to handle something like that. The same thing is true with a lot of the age-limited things that are out there. So one way of thinking about government is thinking about, are the restrictions and laws that government has out there regarding age or regarding certain behaviors not being allowed unless you go through certain trainings, is that wise? Is that going to result in lives saved, or is it simply oppressive? One of the challenges that we face today thanks to the Chinese Communist Party flu, is when do we release ourselves from lockdown? When do we stop sheltering in our homes? When do we go back to work? When do we start interacting with people again? When do we expose ourselves again? And there are some people who are saying, well, as long as there's a risk, we should stay closed. And they're motivated by a fear of disease. But normally disease is a part of everyday life. It's a risk that's always there. Nobody can assure that you're not going to get a disease, even if you live in a bubble. You might get certain kinds of diseases. There may be certain problems, health problems that'll happen, and you will die. We are mortal. That hasn't changed. So at what point do we say, okay, we're going to open our businesses up. We're going to let people earn a living again. We're going to let people return to a form of normal life again with some degree of distancing still expected. But we're going to let people go back to work. In some states, they're still not doing that. In other states, they never locked down. South Dakota never locked down. South Dakota basically encouraged people to use reasonable precautions, but the government never closed the governor didn't close everything down. Some people chose to close down. That's different. That's a choice. When does government need to step in like a friend and say to a person, you got to change for the sake of yourself and for the sake of us? And when should government stay out of your business? When should a friend stay out of your business? I don't have the answers. There are no the answers. I have opinions. I want you to have opinions too. And about those opinions, the ones I'm encouraging you to continue to develop, I expect and hope that you're going to find at some point that some of your opinions are just wrong. I won't tell you that. You'll tell yourself that. You will realize that an idea that you had when you were 14 or 15 doesn't necessarily make as much sense when you're 20 or 30 or 25 or 40. And I hope that you will have the courage to be honest and say, yeah, I like that idea. I'd had that idea as my belief for many years, but I was wrong. I was wrong. I don't believe that anymore. Some people, because of vanity or pride or fragility, can't do that. And so they knowingly lie to themselves in order to not rock the boat of their belief system. One more lecture.